Hello everyone and welcome to Greyhammer. Today we're going to be talking about the Warhammer new Age of Sigmar edition. And in case you couldn't tell, I have a whole lot of tabs open. And we're just going to jump right into it. Just a bit of housekeeping. I've moved to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of uploading videos. The next couple of Mondays will all be Warhammer videos. And then the Wednesdays I'll have reptile videos, and then Fridays we'll have our modded Minecraft series, and there might be other videos that just pop in and out. We'll see. But that's kind of what for sure should be the format. Trying to keep everything consistent, but I was doing every other day, and I just don't think that's going to be sustainable if I want to cover multiple topics. So here we are. There's a lot to cover. Probably going to be a whole lot of episodes, so gonna see what we can do. So, what does New Age of Sigmar mean for your old battle tomes? I'll give you the short end of this message after looking at all this pretty artwork. They're basically gonna die. They're blowing up all the old battle tomes, but you're getting a brand new faction pack, free downloadable faction pack on or shortly after release. So that's interesting for sure. Basically because they're changing the rules so much that any of these old battle tomes aren't going to be applicable anymore. So you'll just get some very bare bones rules at the very start of the game, and they'll improve them later on. Make factions more alive, but they've got a lot of work in this new edition. They are trying to make Age of Sigmar even easier to play, and it's generally considered to be the easy Warhammer. So that's all for that article. That's an easy one. Modular rules. And what do they mean for you? Short term, there's faster ways to play Warhammer now, and then there's the regular way. So this is the fastest way you can play Warhammer. You just use the core rulebook. You do moving, fighting, shooting, unit coherency, and objectives. No magic. But then there's the advanced rules, where you have commands, you have terrain, you've got magic, you've got army composition, command models, and battle tactics. So Spearhead, you just use the core rules. Path to Glory, you use all of them except for battle tactics. Yeah. Match Play, you use all of them, and General's Handbook, you use all of them, plus your seasonal rules. So realistically, most people will play either Spearhead or Matched Play. This will be, if you buy the new General's Handbook, you'll always have this. But these two will be the ones I think people are going to play most often. It's going to be very interesting. And then, like, for example, they're saying, like, a General's Handbook may have a section where you could replace the magic section of any of these with the magic of a specific place, which will make things a lot easier for them in the future, where they can just tear out parts. Like, say they're like, we don't like the way that commands work. We're just going to completely rework it, and that's not going to affect most of the stuff. Could be interesting. I think it's a good thing to make Warhammer simpler. When you're teaching someone how to play Warhammer, you are going to teach them on Spearhead, more than likely. But if you really want to play Age of Sigmar, you're going to be playing Match Play. And if you're really into it, General's Handbook. Personally, I would like to play, unless they change battle tactics, I want to play Match Play but without battle tactics. Which I guess is Path to Glory, but I think Path to Glory is going to still have its fancy shenaniganery of rules. So I don't like the way that battle tactics work right now, but we'll see if they improve them. I just think that a lot of them just make it so that some armies can get them easier than others, and some of them just ask you to do things that you would never do in an actual battle. So that's definitely a interesting one. But What is the priority roll? For those who don't know Warhammer Age of Sigmar very well, instead of it going your turn, their turn, your turn, their turn, they have something called the priority roll, which basically you roll off, and whoever gets the higher roll most of the time gets to choose. There's if you went first in the previous turn, you win ties. So this is how it works currently. Yeah. First player to set up an army chooses turn order. Players make the priority. Winner chooses turn order. First player in previous turn will choose turn order in case of tie. So basically just what I said. Now they're changing it to I think it's the same basically. The balance between risk and reward has become more finely tuned. In match play battle tactics, when you choose to take a double turn, you give up your opportunity to pick a battle tactic for the turn if you play with the battle tactic rules. And yeah, so that gives you less chances to kind of snowball. But battle tactics aren't going to get you. It's just an extra point. So battle tactics aren't going to be a huge deal. So first new miniature revealed. They have these Stormcast Liberators in Thunderstrike armor, since they're removing the old Liberators. I really like the models. So the old ones, super clunky. These bring them much more in line with the Vindictors. Yeah, there's not much to say about this. I called this a while ago, that they probably weren't going to open up a new chamber, but if you've been paying attention, they also kind of do that. But really cool model. I'm not sure what's going on here. That's not my favorite part. They're definitely going for like a Viking style helmet feel to it, but when the whole face is metal, it doesn't work as well to me as if the helmet came to there and there was face under there. Because I do love that style of helmet. One of my favorite styles of helmet is the good old nasal helmet or spectacled helmet, if you want to bring the metal down to there. But it's a really cool looking model, looks way less clunky. Overall, good for the hobby. Building your armies changed. So now you get regiments. So 1 to 5 regiments per army. You must pick a hero to be your general. Each regiment has 1 hero and 0 to 3 non-hero units. 0 to 4 of those if the hero is the general of the regiment. You can reinforce to double the points cost and unit size of a non-hero unit. So basically, you could have a unit of 10 Liberators or Vindictors. You could have a unit of 20 Skinks, things of that nature. But they cost double, and you can only do that once. And then some hero units allow the addition of extra heroes to their regiment. So, like, I imagine things like Slan Star Masters might allow you to take some skink heroes. And then allies are different now. So allies are considered auxiliary units. Also, those regiments drop all at the same time. So you drop a regiment, drop your other regiments, and then your allies count as their own separate drop. So the more allies you have, the more drops you're going to have. So you can see here, they have 4 drops here. Here it's 5 drops. So allies, you can pick as many allies as you want, but it's going to slow down your ability to choose who goes first. And the person with the least amount of auxiliary units also gets an extra command point per battle round. That's important to note. That's pretty. And then sub-factions, there's something called battle formations, which will focus around the way that the army plays. Think of your sub-factions in regular Age of Sigmar currently, like Thunder Lizards for for Seraphim. This is the controversial one. Everyone was happy until here. leaving the Age of Sigmar range. So, let's go through. Stormcast Eternals. Losing all these, you will no longer be able to purchase them. You will still be able to play with them, though they're going to just get the rules from that new little first rulebook thing, and then their rules will never be updated again. Which means power creep is going to affect these guys. So they'll probably be okay at the start of the game, and then as you get the Stormcast Battletome, these will all become obsolete, basically. Not too many people are upset about Stormcast losing more units, as far as I'm aware. There's probably salty Stormcast players. This one hurts a little bit. This is a super cool model, so that hurts a little bit. Sequitors were really interesting how they played. Note that Liberators, Judicators, and Paladins are leaving. Liberators, are coming back. Don't know what's happening with Judicators, if they're going to get new Judicators. Something similar to a new Paladin is coming out, so don't count them out. I would not be surprised if these make a comeback later on with Thunderstrike armor. They just are tired of... They don't want you to have a bunch of clunky-looking miniatures and then a bunch of really slim-looking miniatures. Some of these hurt, but it's not that big of a deal. Same thing with Skaven. Losing a whole lot. I can't say anything about Skaven right now because we know that they're getting a whole lot of new miniatures. Hopefully they get new Rat Ogres, because that hurts to look at. Arch Warlock actually looks like a good model, so that's a little strange that they're getting rid of him. But they might be changing just the way that Skaven play, so we'll see. Bone Splitters. 2 people and their dog played this faction. Their faction is getting completely removed. There's about 2 people and their dog who are crying very loudly. But I don't see that this changes much of anything. They will be getting a Battletome Bone Splitter, so everyone who still has them can still play them. They just will get power creeped to oblivion. Slaves to Darkness. All the little Warhammer Underworlds are leaving. Again, these weren't very good to begin with, so... Sorry, my dog is trying to get up into my lap. They weren't that great, so it's not too bad that they're leaving. What would be upsetting is if all of them from other factions left as well, because a lot of factions don't have a great unit selection. I play armies that have a pretty good unit selection, so I can't complain, but this is the one that hurts the most. I thankfully have not bought any of their miniatures because I was really excited. They just came out with a new Beast Lord. They are completely leaving Age of Sigmar, so no rules in Age of Sigmar. They will not be getting that free Battletome. So, Beast of Chaos are only in Warhammer Old World, which is all being played by people in their 40s and 50s who used to play Warhammer Old World and have been Stockholm syndromed into thinking that it was a better game system. And they're still playing their first game because it takes 10 years to play. Branch Wraith, interesting, nobody cares, pretty weak. Source Eternity Warden, that hurts. Really thematic model for the army as a Seraphim player. I think it would have been a great hero in the new unit to go along with the Slam, but you know what? They're getting rid of it. I take everything leaving with a bit of grain of salt that they might be getting a new model eventually. So, Valkia and Skyla and Thingrim. Valkia, I know people who play Blades of Corn did like that miniature and liked to play Valkia. I don't know that Skyla was that played. Madcap Shaman and Big Boss on Gigantic Spider. I would say Big Boss on Gigantic Spider is a really cool miniature. Doesn't look the greatest, but cool idea. And then the Mistweather side, I don't even know what faction it belongs to. I think it's Daughters of Cain, but I don't think anyone plays that unit either. So I don't think too many people are upset about that. There's a lot of news here. I might cut it into 2 episodes, so I'll film outros if need be. But Anatomy of a War Scroll. So War Scrolls in Age of Sigmar have been simplified, made clean. So let's go through this. So first of all, move. Same thing as ever. The Liberators can move 5 inches, 3 up save, 1 control, 2 health. Control is how many models they count as for controlling an objective, basically. So each Liberator counts as 1 control. Their melee weapons, you got 1 and 5 can have a Grand Hammer, the others have Warhammers. 2 attacks, 3 up, 1 rend, 1 damage. Does a mortal damage on a crit, which is a hit roll of 6 up. Hold on. Unmodified 6 to hit counts as a critical hit, and that turns it into mortal damage. So 6s to hit, just do a mortal damage. Same with the Grand Hammer, except it does 2 damage instead of 1. And does it say critical hits into mortal damage? I don't know if that means that that's going to do 2 mortal damage on the Grand Hammer. Interesting idea, but we'll see. Stalwart defenders add 3 to their control score while they're contesting an objective within friendly territory. So basically, while they're defending units or objectives in your territory, they count as 4 models for each one. So they are better at holding terrain than they are at capturing it. Then you get keywords. They're infantry and champion, so they have a unit champion. And then their order, Stormcast Eternals, and part of the Warrior Chamber. That will affect some abilities. We'll see what eventually. Then you've got your turn phases. You've got start of turn, hero phase, movement phase, shooting phase, charge phase, combat phase, end of turn. And then you've just got these different ability icons, because if you noticed, that's a passive, but Nagash, they just wanted to show a very confusing one to show you that War Scrolls aren't all super simple. So Nagash, you got 10-inch move, 3 up save. He counts as 10 models for controlling objectives, 18 health. He's got these melee weapons that don't do anything special, but whenever he has 10 or more damage points, subtract 3 from its power level. That's just how many spells he can cast. So he can cast 9 spells, or unbind 9 spells, and banish 9 spells. We'll talk about that later. He has a 5-up ward. So when he has 10 or more damage points, he only can cast 6. Oh no. Staff of Power, add 2 to casting rolls for this unit while it is not miscasting spells this turn. If this unit miscasts a spell, ignore the restriction that would stop this unit from casting any more spells this turn. Nagash is a beefy spellcaster. So that's a passive. So start of turn passive on that. And then the gold is the hero phase passive. And then purple is end of turn, Hand of Dust. You declare by picking a visible enemy, hero, or monster in combat with this unit. Effect, you hide a dice in your hands or under one of 2 appropriate containers. Your opponent must pick one of your hands or containers. If they pick the one hiding the dice, the ability has no effect. If they pick the empty one, the target is automatically destroyed. Keywords, Rampage. I don't know what Rampage does. That's an interesting question. Once per battle, your hero phase, you pick a friendly, non-hero, non-unique death unit that has been destroyed. Set up a replacement unit identical to the target, wholly within 12 of this, and more than 9 inches away. Then he's got a spell, Invocation of Nagash, in your hero phase, casting value of 7. This unit can cast a spell more than once per phase. pick a visible unit wholly within 18 of this unit that has not been picked to be a target of this spell this turn to be the target. Make a casting roll of 2d6. If the target is an enemy unit, inflict d3 mortal damage on it. If the target is a friendly death unit, pick one of the following effects. Return a number of slave models to the target unit with a combined health characteristic of up to 3, or they have a 5-up ward. War Master, unique, hero, monster, wizard, fly, ward. But still, a pretty compact. And this is the Oziark Bone Reaper's War Scroll for Nagash. He has his own special one for other death factions. New Face of Hate Fury. We get to see the new clan rats. And they look almost exactly like the old clan rats, just upgraded. I mean, I don't know what I expected, but they are very true to the old models. They just look better. That's a size comparison. That's them compared to the old ones. Again, same sword, same kind of look, just better. But they're not a crazy miniature. Then react to your opponents with powerful new commands in the new Age of Sigmar. So this is a special rule set that they're kind of making it a little bit overhaul of command. Any ability with a command point cost, shown there, is a command. Each player gains 4 command points at the start of each battle round. The underdog gains an extra command point. Each player gets... There are 10 commands to issue in total. Each unit can only use 1 command in each phase. Each command can only be used 1 time by each army in each phase. You must pay the command point cost to use a command. Your army composition can affect your command points economy. If you start with fewer auxiliary rounds, you earn an extra command point. The underdog can harvest an extra point each round. That's the player with fewer victory points. So you can catch up a little bit, which I don't know how I feel about, because Warhammer games go on for a good long while. I feel like this will just extend Warhammer games a little longer, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not. So on to reactions. Using an ability, you declare the ability, use any reactions, resolve the effects. So, for example, reaction, you declared an attack ability. It's all-out attack. Unit using the attack ability, you add 1 to hit rolls. That affects mount weapons, or companion weapons as they're called now. All-out defense, it's the same. If they're attacked, spend a command point. At the double, you increase move by 6 instead of just d6. Forward to victory, reroll charge roll. There's some new commands. Rally. You pick a friendly unit that's not in combat to use this ability. Make 6 rally rolls. For each 4-up, you receive a rally point. For each rally point spent, heal 1 to that unit. You can spend a number of rally points equal to the health characteristic to return a slain model. And so it's similar to the old. And then you've got redeploy. Pick a friendly unit not in combat. They can move up to d6. They cannot pass through or end within the combat range of an enemy unit. Covering fire, enemy shooting phase. This is what used to be Overwatch. Pick a friendly unit that is not in combat to use this ability. Resolve shooting attacks for that unit, but all of the attacks must target the nearest enemy unit. And you must sacrifice 1 from hit rolls for those attacks. And then enemy charge phase for 2. Counter charge. Pick a friendly unit that's not in combat. They can charge as if it's your charge phase. Then there's the magical intervention. Pick a friendly wizard or priest to use it. They can use a spell or prayer as if it was your hero phase. You have to subtract 1 from casting or chanting rolls. And then finally, power through. Pick a friendly unit that charges this turn to use this ability. Then you must pick an enemy unit in combat to be the target. The target must have lower health characteristic than the unit using this ability. You inflict d3 mortal wounds. Then you make a distance up to your move. It can pass through and end that move within the combat ranges of enemy units that were in combat with it at the start of the move, but not those of other enemy units. It does not have to end the move in combat. So you can charge spend a command point to do D3 mortal wounds, and then back out. Pretty cool. Which actually, Stormstrike Chariots. We'll just go over the War Scroll real quick. Health of 10, move 10, 3-up save, counts as 2 models. You can pick the bow, which is 2 attacks, 3-up, 1 rend, 1 damage. It's anti-infantry, so it gives you +1 rend, and if you do a hit roll of 6, it counts as 2 hits. Then you've got your Stormstrike axes, 3 attacks, 3-up, rend 1, damage 1, and on the charge you do +1 damage. The spear is 2 attacks, 3-up, 2 rend, 1 damage, and then the Griff Charger's Razor Beaks, 6 attacks, 4-up, 3-up, 1 rend, 1 damage, and is considered a companion attack. And you pick the spear or the bow. And on any charge phase, if this unit charged this phase, pick an enemy unit within an inch to be the target. Roll a d3 on a 2-up, inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. So you can do up to 6 mortal wounds with this one. And it's not a command ability there. And then passive, when they do use the power through command, inflict an additional d3 mortal wounds on the target and add d6. So they will be moving 10 plus d6 when they power through. This is amazing. I love this model. I have 2 of them. I want to bring these. You charge into combat. You do 2d3 mortal damage. And then you can do 2 to 6 mortal damage in addition. And then you can move out up to 16 inches away. It's a war machine. Warrior Chamber. On to the next thing. Battle traits, battle formations, shape your army. So here we have the Stormcast Eternals have 4 different battle traits. So this is where I don't think I hate. It's not battle traits that I hate. I'm trying to remember what they're called. But anyway, once per turn for your army in your hero phase, you pick a friendly Stormcast unit that does not use this ability. This battle, they use this ability. And then for the rest of the turn, add 1 to wound rolls for that unit's combat attacks, and add 1 to save rolls. Heroic actions are gone. So once per turn, you can boost up 1 of your Stormcast units. Scions of the Storm and the Celestial Realm. Basically, you can put stuff up in reserve. You can bring stuff out of reserve. And then pick a non-unique Stormcast Eternal infantry or cavalry unit. Started the battle with 2 or more models and has been destroyed to be the target. And then and you set a replacement with half the number of models, rounding up more than 9 inches from all enemy units. Then you get battle formations or sub-factions. Thunderhead Host, add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made by friendly Warrior Chamber units, wholly within 12 of non-hero Stormcast Eternals units that do not have the Warrior Chamber. So combined arms. Then you've got the Lightning Echelon, pick a friendly Extremist Chamber unit that charged. Roll a dice on a 3-up. The unit has strike first. So Extremists, the Dracothian Guard, so dragons get stronger. This is kind of your replacement to the Paladin, the Reclusian. They come with like a little companion guy that it's pretty cool. Not the most amazing miniature in the entire world. They look sick, don't get me wrong. There's just not too much going on. It looks like it's 3 of the Reclusians plus their basically their grandchildren who go around with them to be like, hey, you're still a person. These are the Stormcast who have been reforged many, many, many times. But this is the fun thing. Combat, charge, it's the same. You must end the move within a half of an inch. of a visible enemy unit, and then you count as having charged. Fight, you pick a friendly unit that's in combat or is charged this turn to use this ability. The unit can make a pile-in move. Then, if the unit is in combat, you must pick one or more enemy units as a target, and then you resolve your attacks. And then you've got some different abilities, like, for example, Ard Boys. In any combat phase, pick an enemy unit and that has charged. Then you roll a d6 for each Ard Boy. For every 6 up, inflict immortal damage. Blood Sisters, pick an enemy unit in combat. Roll a dice. If it exceeds the target's health characteristic, the target has strike last. So different abilities you can use in combat. So your active player does his combat phase abilities, your opponent does their abilities, and then you use the fight abilities starting with the active player, going back and forth. So note, you have to declare all your abilities before you start fighting at all. You can move pile-ins, you can move 3 inches, you can pass through combat ranges, but each model must end no further from the target unit. If your unit is not in combat, so not within half an inch, they can move 3 inches in any direction. The move can pass through and end within combat range of enemy units. On to fight. Rend is smaller. Save stacking isn't a thing. Mortal damage is instead of mortal wounds. Unit rolls, they're trying to make things, weapons make sense. So Vindictors, 5-inch move, 3-up save, control 1, health 2. Storm Spear, 2 attacks, 3-up, 3-up, rend 1, 1 damage, anti-charge. So it gets an additional rend if something charges them. And then if this unit did not charge this turn and is in combat with a unit that did charge, roll a dice. On a 4-up, they get strike first. Basically, they get to be really good defenders against charging frontline defense. This is where it gets spicy. Croxagores. So 6 wounds, or 6 health. They're not calling them wounds anymore. Going from 5 to 6, move of 5 still. I hate that they moved it from 8 to 5. 4-up save, counts as 2 models for controlling objective. 4 attacks, 4-up, 2-up, which it used to be 3-up. Rend 1, 2 damage. Anti-infantry, so an additional rend against infantry. So -2 rend against infantry. Moonstone Hammer is basically the same thing. It hits on 3s, does 3 damage, additional rend. And then add 1 to the damage if the unit's melee weapons target enemy unit that has 10 or more models. They're so good. Unit coherency. If units is now at half an inch, must remain within range of at least one other model. 7 or more need to be within coherency range of at least 2. And then some units have longer coherency ranges because they have spindly model syndrome. Then retreating, they've made it so that retreating is more difficult. You inflict D3 mortal wound damage on the thing that retreats and then can move a distance up to the move. Cannot end within combat range. And I want to say there was something about putting in wounds somewhere. But I'm going to have to cut here and return to this video. I'll try and find that. And I found the place where damage allocation has been changed. Slight way to change to the way damage is allocated. Instead of allocating damage points to a model in a unit, damage points are allocated to the unit as a whole. When the total of damage point allocated to a unit equals the health characteristic of that unit, so for example in Vindicators that would be 2, the commanding player removes a model from that unit, but they must stay in coherency. This speeds up how damage is applied and stops you from losing track of which model was injured or accidentally removing your banner or captain. Really good change. So if you took 6, you would then remove a Croxagore, and you would get to pick which one. You wouldn't have to, let me put a dice by the unit by the specific model that is taking the damage and do it that way. Really good. This Rock Score War Scroll is spectacular, so exciting. Just FYI, if you wanted to know, this captain can do 16 damage against infantry models that have 10 or more models. 16 damage with just his attacks. And then you do another uh, math. 24 with the other two. That's pretty insane. Um, but cast supreme sorceries and chant powerful prayers in the new Age of Sigmar. Wizard spellcasting is a little different. It's not incredibly different, but different enough. So let's get into it. First of all, you get the keyword wizard. That's what makes you a wizard. Followed by a power level, number in brackets. So he's a wizard 1. I would say parentheses, not brackets, but that's just semantics. Could be the British versus American. To burn is the number of spell, unbind, and banish abilities they can use per phase. Note, per phase. So you should. So he would be able to unbind a spell in the opponent's hero phase. He would be able to cast one spell in his hero phase, and or banish. I assume banish is the same that it happens in your hero phase, but we'll see that later. So keyword with Wizard 2 could fire off a single spell and still attempt to banish an endless spell or invocation. That's correct. So let's look at the Weird Knob Shaman. I don't know what his rules used to be, so I can't speak on how his War Scroll has changed. But 6 health, 4-inch move, really slow. 6 plus save, control of 2. Green Puke has a 10-inch range, 4 attacks, 2 up, 4 up, no rend, D3 damage, and he can shoot in combat, which is interesting. I wonder if they're making it so that you can't shoot outside of combat, or when you're in combat, which would be a big nerf to a bunch of stuff. Then he's got the Wog Staff, 3 attacks, 4 up, 3 up, 1 rend, D3 damage. Everyone who's played a wizard knows this stat profile. Then you get to add 1 to the unit's power level while there are any friendly Iron Jaws units that have 10 or more models wholly within 12 of it. So you get more orcs around your shaman, and you can cast 2 spells instead of 1. Spell lores have changed. Pick a single spell lore at the start of the game. Every sorcerer of your army can just attempt to cast spells from the spell lore. You no longer have to pick, this wizard has this spell, this wizard has this spell. So I'm interested in what the Lord Croak, for example, would have. So Mighty Headbutt, casting value of 6. It's in your hero phase. Pick a friendly Iron Jaw wizards to cast. Pick an enemy unit with an 18. Casting roll of 2d6. It inflicts d3 mortal wounds or damage. 3 mortal damage if it's a wizard. Then unbind. Make an unbinding roll of 2d6 if the roll exceeds the casting roll. For the spell, then if the roll exceeds the casting roll for the spell. Yeah, okay, it's the same. Not the 6. Then the spell is unbound and its effect is not resolved. This reaction cannot be used more than once per casting roll. So that's basically the same. Also, miscast. No more than 1 friendly wizard can cast the same spell each turn unless the spell has the new unlimited keyword. Even the unlimited spells can't be repeatedly cast by the same wizard. Casting rolls are still 2d6, and if a casting roll includes a double 1, the spell is miscast, taking d3 mortal wounds. Cannot cast any more spells in that phase. Unbinding is an important part of spellcasting counterplay and with magical intervention, letting you casters crack off spells in the opponent's hero phase. The unbind reaction ability is vital. As an exception to the usual restriction on abilities, a wizard can attempt to use the Unbind reaction multiple times per phase based on their power level, but only once per casting roll. Prayers. This is where it gets a little confusing. This is a kind of hard one to understand. So your priests are marked out by a key word similar to the power level, and can use a combination of prayer and banish abilities of each phase up to that number. So Slaughter Priest, 6 health, 5-inch move, 5 up save, control 2, 4 attacks, 3 up, 3 up, rend 1, 2 damage. Blood Sacrifice. This is once per turn in your hero phase. You pick a friendly unit within this unit's combat range to be the target. Roll a d3 on a 2 up. Inflict a number of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. Gain a blood tithe point. So, interesting. So you roll a d3. That's some really weird wordage. I've not seen that before. So it's a 2 up on a d3. So I guess that means a 3, 4, 5, and 6 is a success. I've never seen that terminology, which is very interesting. Then you gain a blood type point, and I assume they take 2 to 3 mortal damage, because I don't think it would be up to 6. But I have no clue. This is the first rule that I'm a little confused about. And then this unit can use the Unbind abilities as if it had Wizard 1. So it seems like most Priest will not be able to unbind spells, but Slaughter Priest will. Like Spellcaster, you'll pick a specific prayer lore, but that's where the similarities end. Instead of making a single dramatic casting rolls, these combative clergy beseech their deities, who may even be on the battlefield with them at the same time through chanting. You make a d6 chanting roll. Is this the chanting? Or am I confused? And on a roll of a 2+, your priest gains that many ritual points. I guess this is different. Your priest gains that many ritual points. Sounds like it's that particular priest. So each priest has to be praying to be able to cast spells. It doesn't seem like you can combine your ritual points. Each prayer has a chanting value that you'll need to match before it will be answered. Will include a higher value that can power up the resulting miracle even further. So Witchbane Curse. So you need 4 ritual points. Pick a friendly Blades of Corn priest to chant this prayer. Pick a visible enemy wizard within 18 of them to be the target. Make a chanting roll of d6. Subtract 1 from the target's power level to a minimum of 0 until the end of your next turn. And if the chanting roll was an 8+, inflict 3 mortal damage on the target. So I guess if that d6 is added to the ritual points. Okay. Interesting. Then Manifestation Lore, which I did not look. Oh, and then a chanting roll of 1 will lose your priest d3 ritual points. Prayers cannot be unbound, though. Endless spells and invocations still in the mist, but they're now called Manifestation Lore. So instead of spending points, you pick a Manifestation Lore. This grants access to a selection of endless spells and invocations you'll be able to summon in battle. Interesting. Some factions will have their own manifestations, while the current endless spells from Malign Sorcery and Forbidden Power are divided into thematic lore. You'll find the infamous and ghastly Purple Sun in the Morbid Conjuration Manifestation Station lore, for example, along Suffocating Gravetide, Malevolent Maelstrom, and Soul Snare Shackles. So, making it a little bit more thematic to do the endless spells. Wizards and priests both can attempt to banish manifestation ability to expunge these autonomous arcane forms. There are more ways to interact with these conjurations, which we'll cover in more detail next week. Wizards and priests both can attempt to use the banish manifestation ability. So you pick a friendly wizard or priest to use this ability, pick a manifestation within 30 of them to be the target, then make a banishment roll of 2d6. If the banishment roll equals or exceeds the banishment value listed on the manifestation's war scroll, it is banished and removed from play. You cannot pick the same manifestation as the target of this ability more than once per turn. So this is the most up-to-date I've got. Let me just double-check the Warhammer, because this is on a different day that I'm recording this than what I did yesterday. So we've got Dark Oath. That's not new news, though. You'll be able to pre-order Dark Oaths this Saturday. I'm recording this Saturday, so. But yeah, that seems to be the news there. I'm a big fan of these changes. This seems a little bit more complicated, this rule in particular. I think priests are going to be weaker now, but I'm fine with that because there were instances where they were overpowered. These guys in particular, just 2 up, do d6 mortal wounds. Doesn't even have to see you to do it. It seems like that's going to be a little bit more difficult. We'll see how that plays out in the future. I will be continuing to update y'all on these. This episode is going to be coming out Monday. And so then the next Monday we'll reveal another new miniature. We'll be learning about battle plans, the General's Handbook, and battle tactics. So next episode we'll be going over all of that, but I wanted to cover what has happened so far and just get my thoughts. The good, the bad, the ugly. The good, rules are simpler, easier to do. Bad, Beasts of Chaos are leaving. Some of these rules are complicated. I'm assuming they're going to have a bit more explanation on D3s because that's a confusing one if you don't know. For one, D3s aren't used in a lot of game systems, and so you need to define what a 2-up on a D3 is, and then is this referring to the amount on the actual dice or the halved amount? And then the ugly, I guess that's the ugly. The bad is the Beast of Chaos leaving the range. The ugly is that rule is a little confusing. I'm going to talk to some friends and get their opinion. I might do a little YouTube short after Monday to kind of try and re-explain this if need be. But that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening, and please like and subscribe. It would really help. Let me know if you want to see more Warhammer news content. I'd like to do painting videos, but I just don't have the camera set up for it right now. I might be ordering a new camera sometime in the near future, but I'm not sure. But let me know if you like this content or would like to see painting videos. That will motivate me to actually make the purchase of a new camera. But yeah, like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next episode.